Looking. Hello, everybody. It's Nancy Reyes with For Your Canine.
And Joanne Sawicki with For Better For Worse. We missed you guys last week.
Yes, we did. Coming back from trials, it was going to be a very interesting setup if we were trying to do Facebook Live last week. So we missed you all. Let us know you're there. Today, we are going to talk a little bit specifically about what makes a good search. Hi, Elizabeth. In either barn hunt or nose work or any kind of scent sports. And I wanted to, and Joanne wanted to call it 50-50, which totally makes sense. And you'll get it as we go on. So one of the, hey, Melanie, congratulations on the ORT. She got it. Yay. Anyway, actually, this has come up. Joanne and I had a conversation about, as we see, Joanne judges and she's working to be a CO. I'm a CO, and we teach a lot. And so one of those things that we see, depending on, especially at trials, because we see dogs from other areas or other places, and some of the stuff that is required, I guess, that you have to have in order to have a successful search. And it's a combination of things, right? And I think some people, we get focused on one thing or the other, and we don't remember. Hey, Ronnie, of course you did get back from a UKC trial. What's required, what makes a good search, or what are the things that are necessary. And I think there's a few things, and Joanne put it best with it's a 50-50. So I'll kind of let her go into why she thinks and calls it that.
So I recently had a conversation with someone, and it seems to me we all want to challenge our dogs, right? We all want to work. I want to build the skills. I want to build skills. I want to build, harder hides. I want them to work things out. And that is a huge part of nose work, right? That's how we progress, and that's how we get them to higher levels. However, we also need to make sure that we balance things out with drive and motivation as well. Because as we continue to work those harder things, if we are not giving the dog fun searches, or at least increasing their pay, or both, right, what you see is it works for a little while. And pretty soon, as you move up in levels, the dog seems to get a little slower. They might do a little more sniffing, not quite engaged in the search. And it's basically, if you've ever had a job, I know I have in my life, where it's like, hey, we just need you to do this one more thing. Oh, by the way, and this. Oh, and so-and-so is going out on maternity leave, so you need to take over her stuff. Oh, and then we need you to do, and you're like, I'm getting paid the same paycheck, right? And you're asking me to do two people's work. So what's going on here? I will still do it because, okay, I need the job, I need the money, right? But it's not fun anymore. I don't enjoy it like I used to, because you're piling more things on me without making any changes. And yet we do this to our dogs all the time.
Right. Sandra and Kim are driving back. You guys are trialing fools. And
but we love your dedication.
Yes. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. It'll be fun. Anyway, so that's one of the things, like, what really is required for your dog to do a really good search. And again, it's whether you're doing barn hunt or whether you're doing nose work, what really are the elements that your dogs need to have to be able to have a successful search, or at least continue and be consistent. Because I think that's where Joanne was. You have to be consistent, because you can get them pretty consistent early on, but maintaining that consistency and drive is really, really hard, and to continue to search in the way that they have been and all that. So, so anyway, that's really one of the things we wanted to kind of talk about, right? So, and we have some video actually that we would like to share with you. But the first thing is you really need to build your dog's skills, right? You're teaching them how to hunt for odor. You want them to be very motivated to look for odor, because the truth is, hunt drive is not automatic. Some dogs don't have to hunt for food. Some of our dogs just walk over to the kitchen and, hey, make it happen. Most of our dogs actually do that. So they don't have to hunt for their food. So it's not going to just happen for some dogs. Some dogs, it does. They just love it and they like the work, but some dogs it doesn't. So teaching them the skills and teaching them in the right way. So, and I hate to say right way, but teaching them in a way that has good layers. So for example, you want to teach the dog to be odor obedient, right? Like the odor and want to find it because there's reinforcement. The other thing, and this is what we're seeing more of, I don't know about, we're seeing more of dogs are not understanding what hunt means. They just happen to be walking around and run into odor. They're not hunting for it. We're just having to get them there. And that's going to become problematic as the dogs progress at the higher levels. You can get through the lower levels, but at the higher levels, you're going to have some problems. You want the dog to be searching and hunting for that odor. Just putting them on odor and hoping that they'll find it, it doesn't work like that for some dogs. Some dogs, yeah, you could do it, but most you'll have to eventually teach them how to hunt for the odor or hunt for the rat, right? And like I said, in barn hunt, it's a lot more natural, if you will, if they have a little bit of predatory behavior. But some dogs, it's like, well, and for some dogs in barn hunt especially, if they can't get the rat, they're like, it's not as, this isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be, right? So you have to keep it very motivating and very and have the dog driving and hunting for odor. If you don't teach hunting for odor early on at the higher levels, when it does get more challenging, that's where you're going to see the issues happen. And yes, Alan, we have quite a lot of dogs that have crashed after NW3, or as they go into 3, they don't do so good. So that's why we wanted to kind of just remind people about that.
And really, I mean, it starts even at that basic level, right? Yes, you need to teach hunting skills. However, you don't want your dog hunting out there for 2 minutes as a baby dog, right? So there is that motivation piece that goes along with every single thing that you're teaching, right? If the dog has to do a lot of work in the beginning, it's not fun. So you really want to make sure that they're heading out, getting a quick reward, and nothing is going to make them want to come back out versus that was awesome, let's do it again.
Right. And the other thing is a young dog, one of the reasons not putting them on odor right away when they're puppies or very young is because dogs do go through some fear periods. And unfortunately, if it happens that something happens during one of those fear periods, it becomes a big problem. And we have had dogs. I've gotten some dogs from elsewhere that had a bad experience on odor during a fear period, and we had to go back and fix it. And as you all know, those of you who have been in dogs a long time, it's better to do it right the first time than to go back and fix it. You can fix it, but it'll never be as solid as if you had bad behavior. And again, I'll go back to my agility when I didn't learn my weave pulls very well, and it had plagued us for the majority of Bandit's career. We always had problems with those. Even though we trained and we got better, they were still always a thing, right? So in nose work, it's the same. It's always the same issue as well. It
takes 5 times as long to fix a highway once you've laid the groundwork, right? It takes 5 times longer to fix it than it does to go slow and lay brick by brick correctly the first time.
Right. Because we started, I mean, I'll be honest, I started my young dogs on nose work very young. They were puppies. But I really made sure that they had a lot of hunt drive. They wanted to, they can handle distractions and all those things. And then I put them on odor early as well. Well, earlier, they were, I think, 6, 7, 8 months. And then I was very careful. When I saw that they were going through a fear period, I'd wait, I'd stop training. for a couple of days and then go back. I just didn't want anything to interfere with their odor, with their love of odor and love of the game. So now that they're, they're 3 now and almost 4, it's not a problem, right? They're very drivey for odor. My most foodie dog, which is my lab, doesn't have any problems with distractors. So yeah, it was, cause that's a lot of the reasons why a lot of people are, put them directly on odors because they're gonna false alert on food. I go, no. As a CO, I've seen lots and lots of dogs that started on odor, false alert on distractors all the time. So I wish that would be the answer, because that would be so much better. It would be so much easier if that would be the only thing we needed to do. But unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Yep, and it's a whole nother Facebook Live. But I will tell you, I didn't have any dogs left, and so I did start my puppy at about 9 weeks right on odor, right? I had started a couple dogs before that with no problems, but they were very, very drivey dogs. They just had a natural motivation to hunt. The one I had now does not, right? I mean, he likes the game, but he's very sensitive. And so I sort of defended the whole, you can put him right on odor and it works. It does work. But if you have a more sensitive dog, or you mess something up, or the dog goes through the fear period and has a bad example or a bad experience, you can't take that back. And, thankfully, right, Nancy yells at me, and, and I have the skill to be able to fix some things. And, she points some things out that I was missing early on. And I have brought him back. But some of the videos you're going to see here of when he was young, it could have gone very wrong. We could have had a very long and boring nosework career because, he just kind of lost some of the love because I made it too hard in the beginning.
Right. And also, actually, the reason I realized that Joanne sent me a video of Noah on doing nosework, and I'm like, he's so slow. He's
like,
so,
no, he's fine. He's totally fine.
He was very slow, because one of the things you want to build early on is speed and drive, and you want to make sure you keep it. And because if you remember, as things get harder, they're going to slow down. So if they're already slow, Jesus, it's going to be terrible later, right? You'll never make time then. But anyway, so skills is the first thing your dog needs, and it's a process, right? It's a process. You're going to keep building skills and adding on, but make sure you always do it where the dog stays motivated. So you want to keep the dog's motivation as you're introducing new things, new skills, and the complexities of whatever you're working on, right? So yeah, that's one of the, so that's number one. Then, and usually we then build the handler in, right? So in the beginning, we build that independence, and then eventually we add the handler in. We don't usually add the handler in too soon, because then the dogs really do become very reliant on their handler, and then they don't, they then, they start to look at the handler, check in with them a lot, which you don't want as you go through in either barn hunt or in nose work.
Right. I want my dog to think I'm stupid, because sometimes I am. So to cover those moments, right? Don't rely on me. I don't know anything. Right.
So we're going to show you 2 videos. One, and it's a huge problem. No kidding.
Yep.
Trying to build motivation is really, I mean, you can do it. I'm not going to lie, because we've done it, but wow, it's a lot of work. Anyway, so Val Rogla was kind enough to let us use some videos from our online classes. And of course, Joanne's Noah, we're going to get to see some of that. So we have a couple of, Val's dog, Oda, was a little bit environmental and a little sensitive, and was working on things that were a little tougher for her. And so when you look at the video, you might see, oh, she's really driving and she's really working odor. No, she was not. Okay. And then you'll see her now. Val has committed to helping her out, and she's doing fantastic. So I will cue that up. So this is Oda. She's also a younger dog. So remember, this is a baby dog. This is a very simple hide. Nothing very complicated. It's on one of the chairs. She did go there, but she's having a difficulty kind of working that out, right? So people think, oh, she's just working the odor. No, this is at this type of hide should take this dog this long to work, right? And she's really, if you really look at her, she's really not searching. She's not hunting. She's just running around. So Val is trying to support her. And this was early on. Actually, this was in January of this year, right? So it took her over a minute to find that hide. So the honest truth, that is too long. That is way too long of a search for a hide that was right there. She had to do all that walking around. That was not okay, right?
Yeah,
This go ahead.
I was just gonna say some of the other things that you wanna watch for. So I don't know this dog. I've never seen her work before. One of my first questions, if somebody showed me this, would be, was it really hot in there? And I'm guarantee the answer is no, right? Val has long sleeves on, right? So the dog is panting like it's a summer day. So that is a sign of stress. Okay.
Right.
The other thing that you can see, which might make you think that she's hunting, right, is she's almost pacing, right? She doesn't have a path. She doesn't have a purpose in there. She's just kind of pacing back and forth and back and forth. And so that's another sign of stress right there, right? She's not sure where she's going or what she's doing. It's like, imagine her fingernails, just kind of pacing, waiting for bad.
We lost Joanne.
Oh no.
There, now I got you.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you just froze a little bit. So yeah, so one of the things that they were that Val was making some of the searches for this young dog very challenging. So when we proposed this search for the dog, the first one, she sure. While she she was working a little more complex searches for this dog, which caused her to be a little bit stressed about working the odor. And and like I said, she also is a little environmental. But some of the hides, some of the searches she was doing were tough for her, so that caused even more stress for a dog that's already a little bit worried about the environment. And it was difficult for her to let go of the environment and try to work that odor because it was taking her a long time. So what we wanted to do with this dog is have her be very successful, quickly and right away, so that she can be right almost immediately. That's what we wanted her to do, so that she can then stop worrying about the environment so much. But even still, see, and that's the other problem, right? When she's this worried, walking past odor is a big deal. You don't want the dog at this level to do that. So those are all things we wanted to help her with. So then the next video is now this past month, with the online class. And while she's online on leash this time, it doesn't really matter. The difference in the dog's demeanor, I really want you guys to really look at that. Her physical demeanor is a lot, should be, what do you notice that's different about the dog's demeanor? Okay. So really quickly, what did you guys notice about the dog's demeanor in that from one to the other? I'll show you another one. Yeah. That's a big tip off. She's actually sniffing. Good one, Ellen.
Purpose in her search for sure.
And a nicer alert, right? Look at that. So, yep,
Yeah. And I mean, I'm noticing, like, really look at that happy tail.
right.
She is like, woohoo.
Right. So this easy. Well, all the hides were easy, Dawn. All the hides were easy. They were all simple, all of them. But that's the point, right? Dawn says the hides are easy. No, all the hides are easy. They're simple hides. It's a chair hide. You know what I mean? It's right there. No, she doesn't need to be kept on lead. It wasn't about the leash. And I was looking for one where she was off leash. Now because she's done really, really well. For initially, Cheryl, we did discuss keeping her on leash so she's more confident, but she's doing so well now that she's looks the same on and off leash. I just couldn't find the video to show that. But and because all the hides were simple, real easy, they're right there. they're both similar, right? They're all pretty at this level. It's a chair hide, whether it's under or beside it. It's a pretty simple search, right, for the dog. So these are kind of things that would Val take this dog to a trial after that? No, she wouldn't. But now Val has built her skill now that she's going in there hunting very happy. And she's doing really well. So now she's going to take this dog on the road and go to workshops and do different things to see how she handles it before she puts her in NW1. She does have her ORT. She managed to get that, but that doesn't mean much, right? You can have your ORT. Most dogs can pass that. And actually, Val's a pretty experienced handler. This is her second dog, so it's not like she wouldn't be able to figure it out and figure out how to pass her ORT just by watching her dog, right? So the dog was pretty, see how relaxed she is? A lot of curves in her body, no pacing, actually getting in there and going right to work. That's the first thing you want to see, right? And be able to do a lot of that. You can make the one hide very challenging by starting upwind or downwind or whatever, but the look that you have there where the dog is happy searching, running into that search to find the hide, that's what you want every time.
Yep. I think, it's no joke. You can teach so many skills with containers and chairs. Like, you have no idea how much skill you can build with that, right? You do need to go on the road for the environment, of course, but the skill building does not have to mean it's a 3-minute hard search.
Mm-mm. And the truth is, but yeah, she's a lot happier. She's more relaxed. That's what I wanted to see because she was very, and this was the first video was one of her less stressy, less. Yeah, she was really stressed out before. And the thing is, she was in an environment she was familiar with, and she's been there before. And she was with her mommy. I mean, she was with her owners. They were right there. And so it was really, really, so now she's a happy girl. So now you can put the next layer of taking her out on the road and taking her.
How old is she, Nance?
I think she just turned 2 or 3, maybe 2.5.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the younger they are, barring those fear period bad moments, right? But the less time you let that go on, the better it is to fix, right? The longer you see it go on, the harder it is, right, to rebuild. 5. Right. Oh, okay. Right. She's very pretty, Val. Beautiful shepherd.
Oh, she's 5. Sorry. Yeah. I keep getting her confused with Merkel. I know Merkel's still a baby. Yeah, she's 5. But Val has done a really nice job of building her confidence and working with her. Big difference, right? In just a few months. One video was in June and the other 2 videos were recently. And I mean, Val has done a phenomenal job building that dog's, yeah, Val said her ORT was 3 years ago, right? So, but you know, people get their ORT and they run out and do an NW1 right away. It's like, no.
So, and I'm just curious, I'm sure the answer is yes, but I want to ask. So, from the first video to now, really has Val just been doing like 98% of super, super simple, easy, high reward stuff, motivated?
Yes.
Yeah, see. And you see how quickly that can change just for the dog, right? Once you change the game to like, oh, okay, this isn't so stressful anymore. I'm actually having a good time. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. No, Val did a really nice job of building her confidence. Now she's going to take her on the road. You know, and then she can go ahead and I think she did trial her in an Elements trial, I believe. And it was very tough for that dog. So I think, and then after that, Val stopped trialing her because I think Val did an Elements, if I'm not mistaken, with her. But she had a difficult, yes,
Yeah,
and
pretty
cardiac died, yeah. So Val did a nice job of really, because yeah, the thing is, it's like you know, one her other dog that she has is very drivey. She's not worried about much. She's, you know, so it was ugly. I did see one of those searches, Val. And she has one dog that's very motivated, drivey, doesn't worry about the environment, which is great. Um,
Well, and a
but
comment to that part of it, right? Just like kids that come from the same parents, right? You can try to go down the same path of education and motivation, and I think anybody out there knows it's not the same, right? But yet we do it with our dogs. I did it, right? And I even knew it wasn't the same type of dog, and I still tried to follow the same nose work path, and he was like, no. So, you know, it's better to just build and build and build and then see where you are versus try down the path of how it worked for the last dog. So ask the dog, you know, in every step of the way, how's it going for you? Are you getting it quick? Is it taking a little while? Do you need to build confidence? Do you need to, you know, uh, relax on some of the drive parts? So, you know, they're all different. Yeah. Ronnie did that too.
Yeah, well, we've all made the mistake, and I'll be honest, we're seeing more and more very knowledgeable folks that know a lot, and that this is not their first rodeo that are doing it with their dogs now, and I'm like, oh my God. So there's something, you know, there's a human element about that, right? There's a human part of that. It's like, why are you know that what works and what doesn't work? Why are you doing that again? Especially with their second and third dog, right? It's like I have, this is my second and third dogs, and I actually took one. I was very much of a checklist, like this is what I want to happen, and I trialed my lab in NW3 way sooner than I would my boy because he was so distractible, and I didn't want him to practice. I didn't want him to practice searching and not finding and long. I didn't want that. Yeah, right. Doing that. So we're waiting. So now I feel very comfortable. He's doing well enough now that he can handle an NW3, and so can I. So we'll give it a try when but I could have, we're Jive. She's already got a NW3, and she's already you know, on her way for sure. But she was a lot easier and she was more prepared than the boy. So
Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, I know why I did it, right? I wanted to get back to the game. It was more about me, right? And that's such a terrible decision, but at least I'm honest about it. You know, I didn't do what was best for my dog. I did it because I was ready to play again because that's the game I love, right? Come on, hurry up. Let's go. Let's get into the novice world. And my dog was like, okay, but it's not going to go well. And it didn't for a while. So, you know, it's okay. It's okay to make a mistake. But when you start seeing things, like really ask the dog, are you having fun? Are you confident? All of those things, right? And when the dog's like, not so much, back off a little bit, you know? it's nice because some of these other venues too, it's not NACSW, I know, but they're really great training venues, where you can go into smaller search spaces. There's one high, like, UKC, AKC, the vehicle, well, AKC doesn't have vehicles anymore, but right, it's just on a bumper. So it's a super small search. You get a nice taste of going out there and a little new environment. And, it's kind of like those 3-chair hides, only you don't know where it is. So that's another skill you want to be careful of and really build up before you go do unknown hides. But yep.
So and then the other thing is building the dog skills. So and the other thing is building your observation skills with your dog. So, and I know I'm probably going to get some hate mail, but here goes. The way one of the skills you have to have as a trainer is being able to read your dog. So a lot of the stuff that people are trying to do is kind of like, so that you don't have to read your dog. The dog will give you all the information. You don't have to learn how to read them. The dog, it's almost all on the dog. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really unfair because they're your teammate. You should be holding up your end of that bargain. So some of the people who are, they want to teach a final response, which is, again, not a bad thing once your dog has a lot more skill, but it's basically because you don't want to have to read the dog, right? You don't want to have to work that hard. That's the bottom line, straight up. Like, that's it. It's because you don't want to have to work that hard to figure it out. But that's part of the whole thing, right? That's part of the teamwork, the journey, the whole thing. And why, everybody's trying to find shortcuts so that they don't have to learn that much about reading their dog. And that's really at the end of the day, that's what it is, really.
Right. And you know what? And Judy's right. Reading your dog gets better the more dog experience you have and the longer that you guys are building your teams, right? But I'll tell you, you go do some distraction training or pee or critter smell or any of that, you got to sit, or you have a final response that you have not just drilled and drilled and drilled almost to make it not fun, right? It's 10 times harder to get through. Is my dog on pee? Like, are they stressed? Are they gonna sit? Right? There's a lot more options for the dog versus when you can really read them. You're like, oh, nope, that's dog pee. Come on, let's go. Right? And so they have less option when you can read them, as they do where a little stress sets in, and sometimes they'll throw out that final alert because they're not sure what decision to make.
Yeah. So, and Val, yeah, I know you were thinking of quitting with Oda. That's why she's 5. I thought she was younger. But it has built her confidence, and she seems to be loving the sport now so much. Such a difference in her videos. I was so impressed. So it's the first dog I thought of. I go, because that's been the most improvement I've seen. It was really good. And it's okay to train a final response. Sometimes that's not it's not bad.
No.
It's just what happens is people train it too soon. So the behavior change should be the dog hits the scent cone, traces it back to source, and then gives you the final response. The problem is, and technically all our dogs are giving us a final response-ish, looking back or whatever it is. But what happens is when you teach a formal final response, what happens is that becomes such a big wow for the handler that they keep drilling it. And like Joanne said, then the dog will start giving you a whole bunch of that because you love it every time they do it. So the whole behavior chain doesn't happen, right? And that's really why that goes bad in our world. In the detection world, it's necessary. They have to have it because they need to make sure that the dog does the same thing for everything, but not for our dogs. But we fall in love with the sexy that is a trained final response. And then unfortunately, the problem is that dog's like, oh, she loves when I do this, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And so Jill, you don't understand why. So there's some reasons, right? Like I have a student of mine who, he's a little beagle. He is one of the worst box crushers I have ever seen. And we tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. And we paid fast and we did all of these things. And he just got so much joy out of smashing those boxes that I was like, that's it. We're putting a sit on him. And you know what? And he really only sits, for boxes, he will sit in some of the other elements, but only if she's a little slow, right? He's like, hello. And then he'll throw a sit out, but she doesn't wait for it in any of the other elements, just really with boxes.
Right.
One of the other ones, right? If you have someone who is a little slow, or really, they really, really struggle to read their dog after a long period of time, that's another reason, right? If they want to play the game and they really can't read their dog, and you've tried everything, sometimes it's like, all right, we're going to teach the dog to help you out a little bit. Well,
you're gonna have to build that team a little bit more.
Yeah. I would say one of the other reasons, if you really have a dog that just you really cannot get to stay at source, the food is just way too motivating for them. These are all rare, right? You don't see them very often, but if I have a dog that's going to get a lot of wears, right, because they're bounding back across the room, again, that's usually due to a handler that might be a little slower or have some mobility stuff. I might do that to get them to really stay at source, so that it's clear where the hide is, where source is.
Mm-hmm. And Jill, that is true for some of the folks that have some mobility issues. That's helpful. But again, we only teach it after the dog really is very driving the source and really gets it. So it's a little while before I would say even after their NW1, right? Because at NW1, all they're doing is going to odor. That's it. And you should be able to read that. And then after that, if you need it, then we'll put it on there. Okay, so I want to show the video of Mr. Noah. This was a very young Noah, young delicate flower. So what's the first thing you notice about that dog? Watch it again. What do you notice about him? Tuck tail, yeah. What else? Tentative, yep. He is a delicate flower after all. What else?
No drive. Yep, Deb.
Yep. Scenes, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yep. No pep in the step, not excited. Yep.
All of the above. Oh, I go back and watch these now, you guys, for real, and it makes me so sad. Like, how are you so dumb? How did you go home and watch that and go, this is okay? There's no joy in Mudville.
Did he find it? Did he find it? He absolutely found it. But and some people would then consider that a success, right? Because he did find it. In all fairness, he went out there. He found that hide. So people would think that's a success. It isn't.
Nope.
That is not what I would say. Yeah, that's fantabulous. No.
Looks good. Keep doing what you're doing. It'd not be a response that would come out.
Right. So this is another one. Now this is about another year later. Well, yeah, right, Joanne, about a year later?
Yeah, about.
So tell me, what do you see? What are you seeing? He's better than the last one. Yes, he is. But what are you still seeing? They're convinced that he just wasn't focused. Right. Aaron, you hit it on the head. They're like, well, he just wasn't focused. No. That wasn't it. He wasn't, but that's not why. It's not, right. He wasn't focused because it wasn't that important. So this is his first or second NW1, Joanne? No, I think it's a second. No, he titled here, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he did. He did. You're right.
So this is his second. NW2
One.
or one, sorry. Why are we here? Well, yeah, and that he's asking that question because he's not near odor.
Yeah.
Other than that, he
Was he
bothered.
bothered by that? No, he didn't. He did not. He looked at the flagpole. I'm surprised you remember that, Susan. The flagpole, like, it was very windy, and so that the metal flagpole is just clanging. But no, he was not bothered by it at all.
So, Joanne, you can continue to narrate here really quick.
Yeah, so you see you're getting a little bit of deflection there where he's kind of sniffing the ground, and he's I'm trying to help here because it is a trial, right? I gave him, like, we covered the search here, I let him go where he wanted. And now he's sort of sniffing around doing whatever. So I'm trying not to overhandle him here, but I'm reassuring him, like, hey buddy, come on, let's go.
Right.
Where is it? Come on. Like, I'm trying to increase some of this. And again, like, I'm being a cheerleader where I don't need to be. I mean, that's not the reason. There's nothing about that trial that, oh, well, look at that. Yeah.
So Dave's
So,
like,
yeah, I know. He's like, hey, stupid. So, so really, you're right. There was not a lot of enthusiasm. He isn't even object focused. Yeah, you're right. Which I don't know. I don't know if that's so bad. But he could have caught that coming off the steps. A lot of dogs did. There was odor available, and I think it was just coming into that, right? It was still, he's not an environmental dog, but he's a delicate flower. So,
well,
just
he's not environmental, but he is sensitive to mommy's feelings.
yes.
The saying. He is not as environmental. He just cares about Joanne's feelings. If Joanne gets upset or stressed, he's like, I can't work like this.
Yeah.
And he's still like that, but he likes the game a lot more now. So now this is one of his NW2, and much better search here, right? So what a difference, right? He went right to odor. Even though he's sniffing the floor, he went right to odor. He didn't screw around. He wasn't
Look at the speed change too.
right. Because Joanne's been working on it. And it's grass. And even though Joanne's like, okay, he's not a peer, but because he's not, but he does like girl stuff. But here he's really working. He's a little distracted, but much better. A lot more drive, a lot more motivation. Joanne's been really working on that, and he's doing really good. And voila, nice work, right? So and he's actually working from the beginning. That was the big takeaway, is he was working from the get-go. He wasn't like, oh, I don't know, none of that. He was pretty spot on, and he was very really, and that's what I mean. That's a delicate thing, right? It's very sorry guys. It's a very it's important that you layer it that way. So Joanne and I were at that very same trial with that exterior. So this is not to say that Tango was better, because believe me, we had our moments in the vehicle search that weren't great. But here is where I want Tango to be working a little sooner. So it was a very same search, right? Very same exterior search. And and I, you know, he's still, you know, he's still a delicate flower because he was still very young. Both he and Noah are still very young in this. But he actually came out and was working. That is my criteria for NW1, right? You just have to be working. You don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to, that doesn't mean you're going to get them all, because it doesn't mean that at all. But I want you to at least be engaged and working quickly, like Noah's NW2. Now, yeah, Girl P is an aphrodisiac to my dog too. You would have, yeah. But the thing is, but Joanne has built it to the point where now he went for his first NW3. He not only passed, but he also got second place overall. And that is by building that drive and motivation to work. And so she wouldn't have had to, she would have gotten there faster had she just taken her time to do that. But now the dog is like, yeah, hold my beer, I'm going. And he did it like this last week, you know, a couple weeks ago, without any, he was all about work. It was all business. There's no, I don't know, I'm looking around, I don't want to, none of that. It was all boom, right?
Yeah, it's been a journey, let me tell you. I did what, 2 NW2s, I believe, and 2 NW1s and 4 NW2s. And it's like, oh my gosh. And it wasn't that he wasn't, in the beginning, sure, he wasn't ready, but those last NW2s, the last 2, man, he was ready. He really was. We just had a little bobble and didn't get it, which happens to the best of people. But yeah, now I'm telling you, that NW3 last weekend, I have never felt like as much of a team with that dog. I can read him so well, so much so that when the trial was over, before, I know I shouldn't say this on tape, but you know, before Nancy had posted the results, of course, you know, we all whisper, and I think I left one. I think I left one in in the interior, and I was like, I don't know. I thought that, but I don't think so now. And they're like, no, I know I left one. I know I left one. And so many people came out of that saying, I think I left one. And I'm like, you know what? If I left one, I left one. But I gave him ample. He was very interested in something, but I looked at it and I was like, that's not odor. And I gave him ample time to check it out. We even like rechecked it real quick right before I called finish. And he was like, nope. And I think some people got some false alerts over on that side of the room. And, you know, I felt like such a team with my dog. It was great. So, okay. Yeah. So a lot of people are asking, what did I do? So really for confidence building, guys, I was working too hard of hides very early on, right? I want him to do this. I want him to do that. I want him to learn how to do this. And I was missing that 50-50. It was more like 80-20. And that was not enough for Mr. Delicate. So I really did. I went back and I really worked a lot of the 3-chair hide, you know, like you saw Val's dog doing in the first video, right? Drive in there and I will pay the crap out of you for finding a simple chair hide, you know, and I did it. And I did it in exterior, 1 car, you know, 4 things outside. We went to just kind of different places. And like, again, he's not environmental. It was a confidence thing. He was stressed out. And so he let that show by not working well. So once he knew I trusted him, I didn't really question him. He got paid on nice, simple, really motivational hides. It started to grow very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things, you guys, that's how you work on. I know it sounds crazy, but that works. The dog you have to build the dog's confidence by him being successful. If the dog isn't successful relatively quickly in the beginning, especially if you have a young dog, like in Joanne's case, he was a young dog that's not successful, that is going to it's going to destroy the confidence and he's never going to get it. And so, you know, everybody's like, well, it's so easy. Yeah, but you want to build, I think of it in layers, right? You want to have a nice, big, thick layer of success a lot of payments and a lot of success on those hides. And then, so you build that confidence. So when you make it a little tougher, you slowly make it tougher so that way they go, okay, I have to work a little harder, but I still have, remember, they have all these successes to pull from. But if they've only been successful this much, and that's all you got, when you deplete it, it's going to be gone quick. And that's where people want to go to do the hard stuff first. Look, my dog can do all this hard stuff. Well, yay for you. But now your dog has to be able, you don't have that layer of good successes to pull from. You have nothing. So I envision it like a big stack like that, big one, so that if you have to pull a little bit because it's a little harder, they still have a ton left, right?
Well,
and that's why I always look at it that way. You build it really high, and then you pull. You're going to bleed some of it off. You are.
Yep. And let's talk about, though, what is success? Because when you saw his first exterior and how slow he was, and he found the hide, yay! No, not yay, right? And I love Val. I'm super happy that she was willing to share that video too. It's hard to put yourself out there sometimes and be like, oh, I feel bad. It's brave. It's so thank you, Val, for putting that there. But
Definitely.
it's was that three chair hide search successful because she found it after a minute and a half? No, right? And people think they found the hide, it's success. That's not success, right?
No. Quick drive to odor.
Right. And if you don't have that, don't move on, right? Don't move to adding more things into the environment, even if it's still a simple hide, right? If I'm struggling with 3 chairs, if I'm struggling with 4 exterior items, I'm not going to add 6, right? I'm going to do what I can to continue to make that simple and motivational so that they can really come in, nail it in 10 seconds and like, yay, right? And then I'm going to do it again and again and again and again till where the dog's like, I got this. They gain their own confidence in themselves, right? And then when you do add 5, they go, oh, the odor's kind of blowing over here. I'm not sure. Oh, wait, there it is, right? And then you pay them for that. And then again, it's just you're building these little tiny layers on top of each other instead of going, well, I know we can't find a chair hide, but I'm going to work an inaccessible just because I want to give them that experience. It's like, why?
No. Right.
Why?
Right. Because it's like, and that's what I mean. Harder isn't better.
Mm-hmm.
Harder is not better, right? And then it's like and people always, when to move on. When your dog is doing this very easily, and maybe if you present it a few different ways and the dog still does it very easily, okay, then you can move on. And then you move on a little bit, right? So like I'm a big proponent of not doing too many inaccessibles with before you get your NW1. You can do a couple under supervision, but don't go nuts doing them because you can develop a whole fringing problem. So that, and I think what a lot of people are, when we're seeing it more now, which I'm not sure why that is, it's just becoming more of a bigger deal with folks with their second, third dogs. We're seeing more of it. And so, and to be honest, we're just getting better at fixing them now because we've gotten a few where we have to fix it because the dog doesn't have the foundation. And I'm doing online courses with people all over the country, and some of those people don't have a trainer or somebody they work with, and so you see some of the and the big hole is that they want to move to the hard stuff right away, and the dogs are not hunting for odor. That's actually, if there's one thing that's out there that's not, the dogs aren't doing, is hunting for odor.
Mm-hmm.
Just not doing it. They're just happy to run across it, and you can get them there and find it, but that's not the
yeah. And
happen.
When we interviewed Jeff, he had just this really good idea of, he goes, don't watch an NW1. He goes, go watch an ORT. And he's right, because really there you see the people who you're like, You're making your way through this because you have experience. You can read your dog. You see the dog kind of wander through all the boxes, and eventually they land on one and they're right. But it's not the same as the dog that comes flying off the start line and then makes that hard turn and hits the box, right? So,
Yeah.
Aaron had a really good, just to give you another analogy, right? The foundation isn't strong, the house will collapse. And as soon as I read that, I thought about the game of Jenga, right? And so it's like, well, really, when you think about it, we go to the primary and we start them on food and we start them on boxes and the dog's having a really good time, and you have that really solid foundation, and then all of a sudden we're going to take the boxes outside, and some of the dogs do good and some of the dogs like struggle a little bit, and so you take a block or two out, right? And we never fix that because that was the skill for this week, and we don't build it. And so, then we're going to go do a vehicle outside. So now I'm like, I struggled with boxes outside. Now I'm going to do something else outside. And I'm going to take another couple of blocks away. Right. And as you continue and continue and continue to take those blocks away,
Mm-hmm.
The sturdiness, it will fall. So.
Right. It may not fall at the 1 or the 2. And that's
right.
That's what we're seeing. A lot of the people that are not teaching, the dogs aren't hunting. They do really well for the 1 and the 2, but in the NW3 and elite is where they kind of stay on, they block, they slow down. So
yeah, nice, Karen. My favorite training quote is make haste slowly.
Yeah. Go. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's always like go fast to get, or go slow to get there fast. And yeah. Because you know what, it's the same analogy as like when we're trying to teach a dog to get in the pool, right? We try to lure them in, then we toss a treat behind the dog to give them that relief, take the pressure off. Then they come in a little faster, and then you toss it back away and give them that relief, and then they come back. Same with training anything, nose work, barn hunt. You want to put a little bit of pressure and see how they handle that. And if they do well with that, then you can add on. But don't add on if the dog's already telling you it's too much or it's too hard or whatever. So.
Yep. And I feel badly, right, for like what Nancy was talking about. Some of these people out here that we see at trials, right, they don't have a trainer in their area. And I know, for like Nancy and I'm so glad we have each other, because it's hard when nobody has eyes on your dog, right? You see them every day. And so it's kind of like when it's your dog, you might not notice that they have a little hitch in their gait, and somebody's like, oh, what's wrong with their leg? And you're like, what? Right? Because you see them all the time. So it's really kind of the same thing with training anything, right? If you're training by yourself, that's good. It's great. Like, I'm fine with people who do that, but every once in a while, like, take a video and show it to somebody else. Like, hey, what do you think about this? Just so somebody else can have an outside perspective,
Yeah. Have somebody that doesn't see your dogs all the time, take a peek at them so that you can build on that. So, to build, to have a good search, right? You want to build the dog skills, handler skills, drive, and motivation. Very important, because we're seeing so much less of that. And yes, and Sherry Ann, the key is constructive criticism.
Right.
It is information it is information that we try to give you. It's not, it's your fault or this fault, because that's not really helpful, is it? Somebody says, oh, you just aren't doing this right. Well, okay, I'm not doing it right. So then what should I be doing then?
Not that. I'm kidding.
Right. Yeah, so that's one of those things you want to really have some good, and some people can't take any, and we have our share that don't like it, and that's okay. But that's one thing, as an instructor, I have told people stuff they don't like to hear, but then they're just like, okay, I get it. And they, after a while, they'll come back and say, yeah, you were right about that, or not. So yes. I know what you're saying. Well, and to be fair, I was a little delicate back then with Joanne, because I was like, he's kind of slow. She goes, no, he's not. I go, yeah, he is. And he shouldn't be, because I see the potential in that dog. He is not a slow dog, and he was very slow, and he was a puppy. And I'm like, Jesus, if you make it any harder, he's going to be like, he's going to be slow as molasses. So what's going to happen? So, I tried to be sensitive, because I knew that's why she was doing it, because she doesn't have another dog. She wanted to be out in the world and all that. But it's like, this dog has a potential to be a really, really good dog. So why don't we develop that and see where he goes? Because sometimes some people, they have certain goals and they're not, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But I know Joanne would like to probably, do quite a lot with that dog. So I'm like, if you want to do what you want to do, then you have to stop doing that and do this instead. and he's already showing her, yep, that's what I needed. Right. So, Cha-Cha is very upset about her dinner time being late. Anyway, so it's a 50%, it's a 50-50, right? Skills is one half, drive and motivation is the other. And you have to balance both of those really, really carefully as you progress and make things harder, and be okay with taking it easy or slowing down a little bit, so that your dog can get where he needs to be. And we tend to want to just hurry up and get there. It's like, you will. And I think some of the have her on for it. I'm going to kill her too. You guys make criticism funny. It's easier to hear. Yeah, well. So one of the things that, if you take your time, really look at what you're seeing, and don't feel bad about it. It's just information. And I'm going to tell you, I am currently taking dance lessons just as a stress relief for myself. And I am naturally a very good dancer. I have to tell you, this has been, I understand about being impatient, because I want to hurry up and get better at it and do better, because there's things that are harder for me now at my age and in my physical condition. But I gotta tell you, I have to tell myself too, I gotta slow down. I'll get there at some point. No hurry. I'll get there. But it's frustrating, right? Sometimes
you just gotta put your T heels on. That'll slow you down.
Yeah. Alan says sometimes Nancy can be blunt, Smokey, but I didn't disagree. Yeah. Well, the truth is, Cha-Cha hasn't even feed that shepherd. I know. I have to tell you, I feel like it is my responsibility and my job to be honest, 100% honest with whoever is paying me, to train them. So, I do very much do that. And I usually, when I say it, I want to make sure it's not because I want the team to succeed. And
Right.
And sometimes it's hard to hear, and myself included. You're like, oh, this is a problem. But I know deep down that they're correct, right? And I need to just slow down or take it easy. Yeah, dancing. And like I said, I always prided myself in being a good dancer. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I just started. So, but it's good. Important to go back to easier successes. Yeah. And we recommend that, like, go back and
Absolutely.
do easy. But you really want to make sure, like, for barn hunt, for nose work, 50-50. Skills and drive and motivation. Because you can have the skills up the wazoo. If your dog isn't motivated or doesn't feel like it or doesn't enjoy the game, it's not going to go very far. You're not going to do as well as you could, right? Yes, the dogs. Yeah, because you know what? Here's the thing, Deb, you make a good point. It's for the dogs. The dogs didn't say, I want to sign up for nose work and go compete in that. No dog did that. We did that.
Yep.
So we have to make it good for them. If they are along for the ride, and you want to make sure if they're coming along, they're enjoying it. That's that's the bottom line.
And one of the, Noah, of course, kicked me down the stairs a couple times, right? Like, We're not doing that. Doesn't work. But when I got the newest rescue dog a year and a half ago, she's pretty environmental. She's quite auditorily sensitive, and she had no confidence, right? So go ahead and work a dog like that, and they will be very honest and tell you, "Oh my God, is that it? I can't tell you. Is it okay?" Like she really was just having a time of it. So man, in 6 months, I can't even believe the change in that dog. And like I said, she's 8 now. So it works at any given point in time. You just have to change their mindset to make them in charge and make it fun, right? She did not have fun when I first got her. So now she's like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, and she can handle the environment a little bit better. So
yeah, we got through an NW1 with gunshots last weekend, which I still can't believe we did, but
and
yay.
horses. And horses. Yeah, so and that's what I mean by making things easier, breaking it down into thin slices for the dog and building their confidence. I'm telling you, you'll get there way faster than trying to rush through everything. I promise. Promise.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. Hoping this was helpful. And sometimes I think somebody said a reminder, a little reminder. And Trish, I have to tell you, I have to keep myself on check with my own dogs because my 2 young ones, it was easy, especially with my lab, to want to go fast. But I didn't. I took my time, and it's been totally worth it. So
we're gonna get Jive a T-shirt that says Ricky Bobby.
Exactly. Thank you, Val, for letting us use the video. I appreciate that so much.
Yes, thank you. Thanks,
All right.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.